It was a night that felt heavier than most. The kind of night when even the city seemed tired of pretending everything was fine. Ethan Cole sat alone in the corner of an empty railway platform, briefcase beside him, tie loosened, eyes glazed from another 14-hour day of doing things that no longer mattered. He had everything a man was supposed to want: a good job, a house, the right watch, but lately, he couldn't shake the feeling that life was slipping through his fingers like static. The 11:47 train hissed into the station, late as usual. He almost didn't board, but something in him, a quiet voice he couldn't explain, said go. The doors closed behind him with a sigh. He sat near the back, surrounded by the soft hum of fluorescent lights. A few passengers dotted the carriage, a woman staring out the window, a teenager half asleep, a man in a dark coat reading a newspaper with the date 20 years ahead. Ethan blinked, looked again. The paper now read June 21st, 2025. He chuckled nervously. Long day, probably a misprint. But then the man lowered the paper, looked straight at him, and smiled. Rough day, isn't it? Ethan nodded, forcing a polite grin. Yeah, you could say that. The stranger tilted his head. I know that look. You've been staring at your reflection lately, wondering when your life stopped feeling like yours. Ethan froze. The man's voice was calm, almost too calm. I know because I used to sit right there, the stranger continued, gesturing at Ethan's seat. Same coat, same tired eyes, same thoughts running like broken tracks. Ethan laughed nervously. You know me or something? The man smiled. You could say that. He folded the paper neatly, placing it on his lap. Do you believe in déjà vu, Ethan? The sound of his name made Ethan's pulse quicken. He hadn't introduced himself. How do you know my name? The man just looked at him, eyes soft but unsettlingly familiar, like looking into an older, calmer version of himself reflected in a warped mirror. Outside, the train plunged into a tunnel, the lights flickering. For a split second, Ethan saw his own face staring back from across the carriage. Aged, lined with wisdom, but undeniably his. And just like that, the air changed. As the train rattled through the dark, Ethan leaned forward. What is this? Who are you? The stranger smiled softly. You already know, Ethan. You just don't remember yet. The train hummed steadily through the darkness. Outside, the tunnel lights pulsed like a heartbeat. On, off, on, again, as if the world was breathing in sync with the wheels. Ethan shifted in his seat, trying to ignore the man's unnerving calm. He looked ordinary, gray coat, silver hair, small leather bag on his lap. But there was something in his presence that felt anchored, as if he knew how this ride would end. Look, Ethan said, rubbing his temples. It's been a long day. If this is some kind of prank... The man raised a hand. June 14th, 2011, he said softly. Ethan's words died in his throat. That's the day your father passed, the man continued. You didn't go to the hospital because you were closing a deal. You told yourself it was just business, but it's haunted you ever since. Ethan stared at him, eyes wide. Who told you that? No one, the man said. A long silence filled the carriage. The rhythmic clatter of the train seemed distant now, replaced by the heavy echo of his own heartbeat. Ethan's mind raced. Security cameras, social media, maybe this guy found something online. But even that didn't explain how the stranger knew the exact time his father's hand had slipped away, or the words Ethan whispered alone in his car that night. He leaned forward. What do you want from me? The man smiled faintly. Nothing. I'm here because you asked for help. You just didn't expect it to come this way. The lights flickered again, dimming to an amber glow. Outside, the tunnel dissolved into a rolling fog, and the reflection in the glass wasn't Ethan's anymore. It was older, wiser, heavier with memory. Ethan felt something shift inside him, a memory rising, not from the past, but from somewhere ahead of him. He looked back at the man. If you're really who you say you are, prove it. The stranger nodded slowly. All right. He opened the newspaper again and pointed to a headline Ethan hadn't noticed before. Train line to be permanently closed after midnight derailment. The photo showed the same train they were on. Same carriage, same route. Ethan's throat tightened. What is this, some kind of sick joke? The man met his eyes. No, this is your wake-up call. You've been on this train for years, Ethan. Same track, same direction. You just didn't realize where it was headed. A low metallic groan echoed through the carriage, followed by the faint sound of brakes squealing in the distance. The lights flickered again, dimmer now, like the train was struggling to stay in this reality. Ethan stood abruptly, looking down the corridor, but the other passengers were gone. Only empty seats. The world outside the window was no longer city lights, just fog and faint whispers of voices that didn't sound human. He turned back. The man was watching him with quiet compassion. You don't have much time, he said. You can keep riding until it ends, or you can get off and start over. Start over where? The man smiled. At the next station. It's called Choice. The brakes squealed again, sharper this time. Outside the windows, the fog parted just enough for Ethan to glimpse a flicker of light. A sign swinging in the wind that read, in cracked metal letters, Choice. He stared. That's not on the line, he whispered. It wasn't, the stranger said. You added it. Ethan laughed, half mad. Added it? I don't control train routes. The man's gaze softened. You control more than you think. The train slowed, wheels grinding. Sparks licked the rails outside like fireflies. Then silence. When the doors slid open, a cold wind poured in. Beyond it lay a dim platform lit by a single flickering bulb. No people, no announcements, just the sound of distant water and the faint echo of a heartbeat that didn't seem to belong to him. Ethan hesitated. If you're really me, what happens if I step off? The man stood, gathering his paper. You live, but differently. He took a step toward the door, then turned back. You asked for a sign. This is it. Every man gets one train like this in his life. Most sleep through it. Ethan swallowed. And if I stay? The man's eyes held his. Then the crash happens, just like it always does. Ethan stepped out. The cold air hit him like a blast of truth. Behind him, the train doors slid shut, and the hum of the engine grew faint as it rolled into the fog, dissolving until only the rails remained. He turned back to ask the man a question, but the platform was empty. Only the newspaper lay on the bench. Its headline had changed again. Survivor credits mysterious stranger for saving his life. The photo below showed Ethan himself, years older, smiling beside a small art studio called Second Chance Designs. He picked it up, heart racing. The ink felt fresh. Weeks passed. The derailment really did happen. A freak mechanical failure on the 1147 line, the one Ethan used every night. No survivors. But Ethan wasn't on it. He'd quit his job the next morning, shaken and dazed, without really understanding why. He moved to a smaller apartment, started drawing again, something he hadn't done since he was a kid. He called his mother. He mended a few broken friendships. He started feeling like himself, the version of him he used to imagine before life got so complicated. Still, every night at 11:47, he'd hear the faint echo of a train in the distance. Sometimes he'd wake up to find the newspaper from that night lying on his desk again, edges yellowed, headline unchanged. And sometimes, when he looked in the mirror, he swore he saw the faintest smile of an older man staring back, calm, knowing, patient. 10 years later, Ethan sat in his small studio by the sea. His art had become quietly known, paintings of trains, fog, and faces that looked eerily like his own. Visitors always asked the same question. Why the trains? He'd just smile. Because sometimes they take you places that maps can't. One rainy night, a young man wandered in, dripping wet, suit still on, tie loosened, eyes glazed, the look of someone who'd lost himself in the grind. Ethan glanced up from his canvas. You look like you've had a long day, he said gently. The man nodded. Yeah, I don't even know why I came in here. The last train's gone. Ethan smiled, handing him a towel. Maybe it's not gone. maybe it's just waiting for you at the next station. Outside, thunder rolled over the sea like the sound of distant rails. The young man looked puzzled. What station? Ethan just smiled again. The one called Choice. Some stories are warnings, others are invitations. The tale of the man who met himself on a train isn't about time travel, it's about timeline travel. Every thought, every decision opens another track. Sometimes your future self steps back for a moment, in a dream, in a strange coincidence, in a midnight meeting, to whisper, "This isn't the end, it's a transfer." And if you ever find yourself on a train that feels too familiar, too endless, too late to change, remember this: you can always get off at the next stop. You named it long ago. It's still out there, waiting for you. If you got value from this story, do give it a like and subscribe. That way, we can continue this journey together.